If you are like one of those people who love to be like, man, fuck that, that's not real. You're one of those people who love to like ruin everybody's mood, who loves conspiracy theories, and you're one of the people that's just like, man, that's fake. Fuck that. Why would you believe that? You're dismissed. Like, please go somewhere. 'Cause I ain't leaving alone. Feel like I could be on this plane. We both know that we're grown. That's why I wanna know. How many drinks would it take you to leave with me? Yeah, you look good and I got money, but I don't wanna waste my time. We're gonna try and do this quick, bitch, because Messy Monday is up. The head, what was you talking about? Let's get to it. Yes, I know it's not all the way supposed to go up to there. I don't care. I'm grown. So, I wanted y'all to see like my spooky vibe, my like UFO vibe I got going on, but you kind of can't see it. See it reflected back there a little bit. See my spooky vibe I got going. Ooh. But yeah. Hi. Welcome to my bubble, where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. So, today we're doing conspiracy theories, because I love a good conspiracy theory, okay? Now me, I have always been into like aliens and UFOs and the cosmos. Not even just the cosmos in the sense of like the universe and spirit and like astrology, astronomy, even though I do love astrology and astronomy and just, but I'm also like, I'm a nerd. So I love all things science and like physics and just, I'm here for it all, right? So I want to do, and the only other like conspiracy theories type thing I've done was, what is her name? Lonnie? I'm horrible at names. Sorry. Not her Dear David story, but something else. I think it was just like urban legends or whatever. But yeah, I'm into all of that. Everything paranormal, blah, blah, blah. It is a regular habit for me to watch documentaries. I watch documentaries on everything. I watch marine life documentaries. I watch wildlife documentaries. I watch alien documentaries. I watch people going missing documentaries. I watch paranormal documentaries. I watch it all, right? So, of course, I found another documentary to watch. So this conspiracy theory video is on the, I'm pretty sure it's Prime Video, the Prime Video documentary titled Alien Conspiracy. Each episode is like an hour and a half, I think. There's 4 episodes total in this one. There's a bunch of other documentaries that I could that I could recommend for you. Some are episodes, some are just like a movie in the sense of they're an hour and a half long, 2 hours long, whatever. We can get into all that. But I'm starting with Alien Conspiracy because that's where I want to start. So episode 1 is called Aliens Among Us. Oh, speaking of which, let's say this right now. If you're not into aliens, and if you are scary about the concept of like, not even scary, if you are like one of those people who love to be like, man, fuck that, that's not real. You're one of those people who love to like ruin everybody's mood, who loves conspiracy theories, and you're one of the people that's just like, man, that's fake, fuck that. Why would you believe that? You're dismissed. Like, please go somewhere. Let us just let us converse. Those who want to converse and partake, let us partake. Go on about your business. I have a bunch of other videos where I look much better that you could watch, okay? This one is not the one for you. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So, I'm not going to give like all of the details because, one, like I said, each episode is like an hour and a half and I'm not going to make a video that long. And 2, you can go watch it yourself. But the documentary is about this guy named John Nada. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's a journalist who initially started investigating like missing persons cases which were never investigated, right? That's the basis of it. He started investigating missing persons cases, but for whatever reason, these cases were just never actually looked into, right? And, excuse me, I had not too long before I found this documentary, I had watched a movie long documentary about alien abductions, right? And in that one, but that was just I do this thing where every so often I just watch random things. Like, I'll find a random movie to watch, I'll find a random show to watch, and I'll just start watching it. So I was in my documentary phase, and I love aliens, so that's always just the first one I watch. And in this documentary, the whole doc was about people who went missing, and it was a variety of ages, variety of builds, variety of strengths, if you will. After they were missing, their clothes were found miles from where they last were or even should have been. Or in particular, the documentary starts with this one old man who went on this repeat hunting trip that he always goes on with his family every year, in the same spot that they always go in. And he was older in age. He just posted up in his normal spot against a rock, waiting for the animals that they were hunting to come towards him, and he disappears like that. And it's he would not just go missing, and they never found any trace of him at all. Just those kinds of stuff. I had recently watched that before I found this. So I was like, missing persons, period. Let's get to it. As a journalist, John's main thing is it's ingrained in me to question absolutely everything I'm told, as a good journalist should, right? So in the documentary, it talks about how the alternative media, which normally is considered, the not mainstream, is becoming the alternative mainstream. And it's it makes a point, or one of the speakers makes a point of, everybody has a what I call a boundary of I will go up to here, and then anything after that, I don't want to know, I don't care, I'm no longer interested, basically, right? It's you can know that a banking scam is happening, or you can know that the government has orchestrated this war, blah blah blah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your mind, or you just as a person, as a being, are all the way open to just how far that rabbit hole goes. And me, as an intellect, as a nosy person, as a person who's open to basically any and everything with no judgment, open mind, I'm fully aware that I cannot / will not know and understand everything. One, because the human mind can only do so much, and two, because basically you don't know till you know. We don't have access to absolutely everything, blah 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 blah, right? So that's part of the reason I watch documentaries, because I like to learn things, I like to learn new things. Wow. And of course, if it's a topic that I'm interested in, the paranormal, aliens, I have not why not watch a documentary about people who have experienced things that I have not experienced? That's my perspective anyway. So now, the documentary also makes a point to say, or it's also proving the point of the normal person, the average person, most of those people who will watch conspiracy theories and be like, man, you crazy, whatever, why would you believe that? They would not believe that reptilians exist, let alone that reptilians are running the government, Herein lies the conspiracy. We can all agree, regardless of reptilian, government, white people, Asian people, blah blah blah. I feel like we can all agree, and also the government. One of the speakers in the documentary, well, particularly this episode, will say it is very heavily programmed into us of I can't. It can't be. I can't have that house. I can't have the job, the love, the house, the family. I can't do this. I can't do that. That's so programmed into us that, us as a society, right? It's so heavily pushed out there, and we're taught slash programmed to believe that from the very beginning. That there are very, very, very few people. There's a very small pool of people who are willing to challenge that, and who are left basically to find the truth slash, well, I was gonna say share the truth, but like do with the truth what you will. Which is a good thing for the reptilians running the government, the aliens running the government, right? Because if they're ignored, if they're not seen, if people automatically believe that can't happen, aliens can't run the government, then they get to proceed. Because if you don't think it's happening, and if you don't believe it's happening, it can continue. Continuing the in the realm of like societal programming, society has been programmed to hate slash fear the subject so much, the subject of like reptiles and aliens and all of those kinds of things, so heavily that without something strange happening to you, or like you experiencing these kinds of things, same way with the paranormal, well, maybe not so much because people make that religious, but without something strange happening to you, if you're not already interested in it, you would have no reason to believe in these things or delve into it, I guess. Which I understand to a degree, but just me as an intellect, as a nosy person, I'm gonna always question, like, what's that about? But that's just me. Yeah, this episode just makes a point of like, without something stranger happening to you or causing you to search for, why is this happening? What does this mean? And da-da-da. People are not going to believe what's right in their face. That's just how society works. Now, John, the journalist, has said, or is talking about, as he's investigating these missing persons, and as he's going along his process, right, he encounters this secret person who ends up continuously giving him information. The secret person, he calls him X. X gives him documents, gives him photos, gives him articles to follow up on. Other times X will just drop a name into their conversations, and X really made the point of like, we can't just tell you these things. You have to research it for yourself, which makes perfect sense. Well, not perfect sense, but which right there, that knocks off 50% of the people who are willing to look further into it, because people are lazy and they don't like to read books and research things. Knowledge is power, folks. X makes a point to say to him, like, X said to him, quote, "You're important, John. You're not the chosen one, not the savior. You're just a hell of a journalist." Which is bad for John, but good for beings like X. I don't want to put me, but good for beings like X. Which, regardless of what kind of beings we're talking about, just in humans, you see that. Like, whistleblowers get hella flack. Look at how the world is treating Kanye while he's trying to expose how the industry works and all of that shit. So, if humans do it, imagine how other beings interact with us, knowing that humans are basically barbaric. But whatever. X says to John, quote, "We poke, prod, trigger you to do what we can't do openly." And it makes a point that some of us, or some of them, are trying to help. Which I agree. Me in general, I'm not particularly scary about aliens in any context, or just beings in any context. It could be a herd of hyenas. It could be, what are they called? Not club, but it can be a bunch of lions. It could be people who have problems with dogs, right? Not every pit bull you encounter is going to try and bite your arm off. Some of them are going to run up to you because they think you're cute and they want to play, There is good and bad in everything, no matter what. Some have good intentions, some have negative intentions, regardless of what being is emanating those intentions. So I was like, period. I like that. It's good to know that there's always some on our side, or on the side of good. On the greater good. And X makes a point to say to John, like, certain minds are manageable, therefore controlled. You've seen it with just people you encountered. Like, not everybody has common sense. There are a lot of naive people, human beings, on the planet. Look at how easily people believe things that are doctored on the internet, right? And then they create this whole story around it when it was a photoshopped picture to begin with, right? So it's not far-fetched, at least for me, to believe that minds are manageable. Like, that's not a foreign concept. X made it a point to say deals were done behind the scenes that were not necessarily beneficial to the general populace. And phase one of that is awareness. And the thought process is, the thought process is, over time, these beings can gain acceptance through literature, through religion, music, movies. Think, what is it called? Godzilla versus Kong. Think of Alien versus Predator. Think of, and these are just general, like, popular movies. Think of, even when it comes to kids, the How to Train Your Dragon. Like, they use the media to introduce the ideas of dragons and reptiles, and because even one of the speakers said, like, the average person will look at a puppy or look at a kitten and think, oh, so cute, but but that same person will not look at a lizard and go, oh, how cute. Not everybody has pet snakes, same kind of thing. So why would a reptilian being, alien to us, right? Alien in the context of foreign, that's what I mean by that. Why would a reptilian who is way more advanced than us, on top of that, just approach you like, hi, how are you? Most people are gonna freak the fuck out because, what is this? What's happening to me? How are you communicating with me like this? Blah blah blah. So, do it in pieces. Also, not far-fetched, to me at least. So then John asked the question of, like, or as he's investigating, as he's putting pieces together, because the first thing X told him to look up was the work of John Mack. That was the first name he dropped. John Mack was a skeptic. He was a psych professor at Harvard, and he wrote 2 books after doing a bunch of research, after doing all the psychological testing on people and blah, blah, blah. In his 2 final books, he wrote about what he determined to be real and genuine extraterrestrial encounters. Mind you, he was a skeptic, right? As they're going along, in this episode, we're introduced to all these other people who have had alien experiences, and we'll get to that in a second. But, so after finding all of these things, right, and doing all the research and putting the pieces together, researching it for himself, right, John asked the question, like, okay, so what? This is an invasion? Like, you're going to take over and kill us? And then what? So X says, if it were up to certain members of that group, of X's group, yes, that would be the plan. But, like, they've been there, done that. It wasn't pretty, right? Which I thought was like, wow, that's crazy. But, time is a real funny thing. Humans have not been around long, so who knows what happened before us, not even just on Earth, but just in the cosmos, which is also a whole thing of, like, we can acknowledge that we can't even see or get access to all of the cosmos because it's ever expanding, and black holes and blah, 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 blah. So I don't understand how people don't put together, like, we're not going to know everything that goes on outside of our rock, but whatever. I have common sense. But I digress. X's point was, since they've been there, done that, it wasn't pretty. Right now, and reptilians having control over our government in particular, they look at it as more of an occupation. And you know, Americans are real fond of that, right? So it's like the government, the military, they all work for the reptilians. Nothing that we experience is real in the way that we think it is. Anyway, this is what X is saying. And then even saying that, like, the helpers and those with good intentions on the reptilian side, they are still, X in particular makes a point to say, like, even X is still impressed with just how complex the plan is to continue and maintain this occupation, which said to me, like, we'll never get it, because like I said, the human mind cannot conceptualize everything, right? Keep going. X asks the question, do you play chess? Those with good intentions and the helpers on the reptilian side would be considered a knight. The Greys, which is like your stereotypical alien that's always put out there, of like basically your regular like alien emoji, right? Those beings exist. They don't all look like that, but those beings exist. The Greys would be pawns, right? And so John is like, all right, so what about me? What piece do I play? And X is like, that's the thing. You're not even a player in this game. Like, you are, X didn't say this, but it's like, you're a spectator, love. Like, you're not even in the game. Also, not strange to me, because I acknowledge that they're way more advanced than us. But X made it a point of, like, those with good intentions and the helpers, like X, are trying to change that, though. They're trying to change us not even being in the game. And I was like, thanks. Like, cause we didn't do nothing to nobody. Like, we're not all same as y'all. We're not all terrible. Like, some of us can acknowledge the truth and acknowledge things bigger than us, basically. But in episode 1, we meet a couple different people who have genuine alien experiences. They remember them. They have proof of them. It happens to them regularly, right? One of them being Ellis Taylor, who I believe is from the UK, just based on his accent. He, one night, or basically I think it was early in the morning, he goes to pee, comes back to bed. His partner, when he gets back in bed, his partner starts freaking out because she's like, what are all of these marks all over your body? And she's so freaked out, she runs to take pictures, and it's actually really cool. There's like faces all on him, and like handprints, and like, well, hand impressions, well, not hand, but you know, finger impressions, and blah blah blah. And Ellis makes a point of like, you could see them, they're visible, and if you want to see them, I think you should. They're really cool. Watch the doc. They're all completely smooth though. Like, there's no impression, like there's no fingerprint, there's no like cut mark, like what you would expect to leave a scar or whatever. It's all completely smooth. And then right after his partner takes the pictures, they disappear. And mind you, in the doc, he's sitting there live, so you would be able to see them on his skin or whatever. Only proof is the pictures. Spooky, right? Another time, Ellis Taylor went to speak at St. Anne's in Lancaster at Probe International, some event, you know, whatever, I don't know. But he headed there. He knew that 2 of his reptilian guards were with him, and so when he gets to the convention, this guy is like, oh, can you come up on stage and be part of this demonstration? And basically the demonstration is, or what the guy says to him is, it's transfiguration, where he describes as, transfiguration is when you look at someone, but like you look slightly to the side of them and see if they turn into anything. So like you're looking to the side of them, they're like slightly out of focus. The being is slightly out of focus, and then it's like see if you can see them turn into anything. So Ellis is on stage, he's doing it. You know, he hears people like, oh, they're so and so, they look like so and so. And somebody looks at him and is like, the guy in the white shirt, he has two big reptilians on either side of him. So he's like, they saw them. Spooky. Another person who has experiences is Peter Slattery, which he wrote a book, and I'm so excited to read his book. It will probably be a book club. Just saying, putting it out there. In the episode, he talks back on his experiences with the Greys, and Peter doesn't believe, or when he's discussing his interactions that he remembers a particular experience where when he was young, where he saw, I believe he said a Grey. He saw a Grey, but he saw it and did not think it was, he didn't associate it with positive, like didn't think it was an angel, but he didn't associate it with negative, and like didn't think it was a demon. He just saw it and wanted it to go away. So he like just put the cover over his head and just wanted it to go away. Also, but he goes further into detail, and then there's like another thing that happens to him later in life when he's grown and his mother is with him and blah blah blah. That's just the first main thing. Then a guy named James Bartley, who's American, he recalls when he was 4 or 5 years old and his first interaction with a brown being in Texas. He details how James remembered it for a certain amount of time, and then, you know, he forgot at a certain age, right? Which happens with a lot, just with regular memories. And then James had a hypnotic regression, and after the hypnotic regression, a couple days later, he's reading this book and the book, at the end of it, has a questionnaire, basically, which will help you determine if you've had alien experiences or not. He names the book in the doc if you want to read the book, do the questionnaire, or whatever. And one question in particular triggered him, and then, bam, the memory of him being 4 or 5 and seeing a Grey came back. Literally right after he finished reading the question. Period. Relax. Also not far-fetched, because memories are triggered like that all the time. Again, just regular memories, right? Not far-fetched to me. James recalls another encounter in 1990 where 3 reptilian Greys took him onto a ship, and like he was on this examining table and they did stuff to him, and that had me like, bro, I swear, I promise you, one time I woke up on an examination table, but I swore it was a dream. Like, it was, I remember waking up on an examining table one time, but I swore it was a dream, because I'm like, I know, even though I've never had surgery, I know what it would look like, because, you know, like Grey's Anatomy, TV, blah, blah. I'm looking up at, like, the light or whatever, and I see these, like, beings hovered over me. That's the only reason I knew I was on the table, was because these beings were over me, plus the light behind them, right? But I was like, whatever, it's just a dream. I promise you I woke up on an examination table one time. But whatever. I not charged it to the game, but I charged it to the game, right? James makes a point of like, you know, he's always been into spooky things or like random things, right? He's always been into Bigfoot. He's been into like the Bermuda Triangle and into other dimensions and blah, blah, blah. Which, so have I. I'm into all of that shit, right? In one of my videos, I was talking about watching somebody else's video who, when they were watching Jamal Rashad, and he was talking about the Titan that's in the Bermuda Triangle and blah, blah, blah. I've always been into like Bigfoot and those kind of things, right? So I'm like, bam, me too. And even the other dimensions part, it's like, didn't NASA or somebody not too long ago put out something admitting to there being other dimensions? But I digress. Also, James mentions that these aliens / these beings can trigger astral separation, which basically is like taking you out of your body. if you have ever heard of astral projection, basically that kind of stuff. Like, they're so advanced that they can trigger it in you, right? And that has also happened to me. Not at the time, I didn't particularly think that it was alien related, but if you've seen well, you haven't seen it yet because it's not out yet, but I have a video coming out about related to healing my feminine wounds, and in that it talks about disassociation and blah blah blah. That I know what disassociation feels like, and I know when it's happened to me. I know why it has happened, but that's what I thought was happening at the time, for at least what I remember as astral separation, because I remember it randomly happening while I'm sitting in class in high school. I'm in like health class or something, and we're taking a quiz, but I'm done with my quiz, so I'm just sitting there like twiddling my thumbs trying to figure out something to do. And I like, if you've ever done astral projection, you know what it feels like. And I did that, but so I feel myself trying to figure out like, how the fuck am I up looking at myself right now, like what is happening? Because each time I've disassociated, it's been for a reason. Like, I've been triggered, and my body is like, the same way, keep this real lighthearted, the same way people will get assaulted and like separate themselves from their body, so because they don't want this to be happening, kind of like that. Except there was nothing happening to me. I was sitting at my desk, finished with the quiz, so I'm like, why am I looking at myself, you know? So I was like, okay, right? This is what I'm thinking while I'm listening to him say this. And then James goes on to talk about, how reptilian symbology is present in folklore and traditions across many different cultures all throughout history. And it's like, people will think it's a metaphor, but in reality, it's a description of these beings and documentation of their existence and their role in the development of civilization, and how they have intervened at very important points in human history, right? Okay.